Brought to you by Penguin.
All His Spies, written and read by me, Stephen Alford. To the listener. Some portraits get hold of you straight away. Robert Cecil's is unlikely to be one of them. Those of Charles de Solier, Sieur de Moret, and Robert Cheeseman, for example, both painted by Hans Holbein the Younger in an earlier time, grip you fast. These men have presence and power. They can look at and even straight through you, as the great ones often do. They are in charge and are not to be crossed. Yet all the virtuosity of the Flemish artist John de Crits couldn't do this for Cecil. He looks pallid by comparison. And so the first impression, a middle-aged man in a sober business suit of black, with a long face and high forehead, hair combed back, a trimmed reddish beard, and delicately expressive hands. Most certainly not a courtier, glittering in full technicolor, or a man who dominates. More scholar than politician, we might think, though probably we'd guess a quietly ambitious one. A man who sits for an artist out of duty and for form's sake, who only tolerates the scrutiny, who would rather be somewhere else. Decorating the portrait is a motto, Sero sed serio, whose clever Latin wordplay can't hide the whisper of an apology. Late, but in earnest. Resist this first impression. It is the mask that Robert Cecil presented to the world, the mask this book tries to get behind. Why should you want to listen to a long book about Cecil? It is a fair question to ask. I hope what follows gives you an answer and persuades you to listen through to the end. He was the most accomplished and formidable politician of his generation. No one had power quite like his. Not in England, not perhaps in Europe. He was close adviser to two monarchs, Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. He manoeuvred his country through and beyond the death of Elizabeth, stage managing the trickiest change of ruling family in a century. Some admired his political arts. Many feared him. By the end of his life, some people, from political rivals, frustrated suitors and poets, to ordinary Elizabethans and Jacobeans grumbling in taverns about their betters, detested him for his riches and his influence. He was the object of conspiracy theories, the subject of slanders and libels. Not many mourned his death at the age of 48. His world was full of shadows and evasions, ambitions and secrecy, deceptions and betrayal. You'll soon discover that things were often not as they seemed to be. Many of the fine Elizabethan words and phrases which are quoted in this book have all the substances of smoke. Friendships seem more like enmities. Loyalties quickly dissolve. In the furnace of the royal court, hopes and disappointments were superheated to sometimes explosive temperatures. Unforgiving competition for patronage made courtiers struggle for the promotions, lands and offices that were in the gift of the monarch. They frequently struggled against each other. And then there was politics. For a minister like Robert Cecil, serving the ruling prince was everything. Anticipating the wishes and navigating the moods and whims of any monarch kept advisers dancing uncomfortably on their toes. The monarch was absolute, blessed by God. She or he was also fallibly human, as ministers knew very well, even though they couldn't say it. The superlative adviser, this is what Robert Cecil drove himself so hard to be, had to wrap himself around the will of his prince, and he needed to survive. You good men which frequent the court, your life and the way wherein you walk is very slippery, wherefore you ought to be very circumspect, and to stay yourselves, lest you fall. So wrote one of the great scholars of 16th century Europe, a student of Prince's power, Justus Lipsius. He was quite right. Many failed at court, but no one was more circumspect than Cecil. No one was
Sample complete. Ready to continue?